Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Glad you could join us for this episode number 64. Great show again we have today. We're going to talk with veteran trainer Dallas Stewart, who has won multiple Breeders' Cup races, very popular trainer. And he's going to talk about, well, just what he is doing right now, what everybody around his barn's doing as he's splitting time between Kentucky and Arkansas. Of course, racing in Arkansas, not racing in Kentucky right now. And then we'll talk to the founder of Let's Point Thoroughbreds, Terry Finley, who is very much involved as well in the New York Racetrack Chaplaincy Program. They have donated money to help workers on the backstretch. We'll talk about how they're working through all this right now with people who are taking care of the horses. There's no racing in New York, but there's very much activity around the barn area as the horses have to be taken care of. On lead guitar, Ben Chaffins. Hello, Ben.
Hello, Kenny.
Everybody okay at your house, I hope? Everybody good?
Yeah, everyone's doing fantastic here. How about you guys?
Doing well. And then once again this week, we're doing it the social distancing way. I'm at my house, Ben's at his studio, and now we bring in Mr. Thomas Kinney, our researcher extraordinaire, who is at his house. Thomas, how are you?
Doing well, guys. Good morning.
Yeah, so we're going through this, talking about racetracks right now. I think it's the most unique thing in sports, not just because that's the only thing you can bet on in the U.S. right now. That's a U.S. sport, is horse racing. Unless some of your friends have forgotten who won the 1998 Super Bowl, for example. You want to bet them on that. But you know, the only thing you can bet on right now is horse racing. So horse racing, though, is the sport where, you know, the athletes can take care of themselves, the other athletes. Maybe they don't have access to the gym. You've seen some videos where they've come up with very creative ways to take care of themselves. Olympic athletes, pro athletes. Not so with horses. Somebody has to be there to take care of them. Thomas, you've been doing some research, and there's still several hundred people on the back stretches of these racetracks around the country that have to be there every day to feed and water the horses and take them out for walks and exercise.
That's right, Kenny. Even at a, what we would call a relatively smaller racetrack like Keeneland here in my hometown of Lexington, there's still over 200 full-time employees. Not all of them are necessarily backside workers, but there are, over 200 people who still work Keeneland full-time. Because, like you said, the horses can't take care of themselves. Someone needs to feed them, walk them around. Because if they sit pent up in their stalls, just nothing doing.
It'll be worse than us pent up in the house.
That's right.
They'll be kicking down the doors. And, there's like 700 or something, I think. Doug O'Neill told us last week at Santa Anita, thereabouts in that ballpark. People coming in, and the same up in New York, even though they're not racing. I guess pretty much everywhere. Everywhere there's a racetrack, there's people at the racetrack right now, I believe.
That's right. Over 450 employees at Gulfstream Park down in Florida. The Churchill Downs Corporation, they own 5 racetracks. And they employ over 5,000 people throughout all their businesses. That includes casinos, which I'm sure are not operating right now. But you still have to, like you said, take care of those horses. You have to have the backside workers going in every day to do their jobs.
And some of these people, I imagine, are still living at the track. A lot of the people do that work on the backside. They have almost like a dormitory setup. If anyone's been on the back stretches of a racetrack, you probably know this. Or if you've just seen shots, like where they pan across, the horses are running on the back stretch, and you see on the other side some of the barn areas. A lot of times that's where a lot of the workers will stay just behind there. They'll have dorms. So they're always busy. They're always working. And the horses always have to be taken care of. And good research again this week, Thomas. I mean, that's a lot of people that are involved in this. And that's what they've tried to get across in horse racing, is with everything that goes on, remember those people that work on the backside. Not everybody's a multimillionaire. Not everybody owns a bunch of horses, but there's a lot of people take care of the horses. So when we come back, we're going to talk with Dallas Stewart, find out what he's doing right now. as he's splitting time between Kentucky and Arkansas. And later on, it'd be Terry Finley. You're listening to the Horse Racing Show, which I believe is the only show that Dr. Anthony Fauci has not been on. But maybe we can change that down the road. Stay with us. Dallas Stewart up next. Welcome back into the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Glad that you've joined us again this week. This gentleman has been on with us before. He's been a longtime friend of mine. I met him when he was assistant to D. Wayne Lucas. He's gone on to win multiple Breeders' Cup races, trained some terrific horses like Forever Unbridled, Unbridled Elaine, the great Lemons Forever. I say that. We'll talk more about her in a minute, the long shot. But he is Dallas Stewart, who joins us now. Dallas, how are you?
Great, Kenny. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being on. And let's see, where are you right now? You've been splitting time between Arkansas and Kentucky.
Yeah, I'm in Kentucky today.
What is going on around the barn? We talked earlier, Dallas, about how horses have to be taken care of regardless of whatever else is going on in the crazy time we're in. So what's going on around your barn? What's still a typical day around the Dallas Stewart barn?
Well, we're just, everyone shows up early, the backside. People, are taking care of business, and at the racetracks, they're checking everyone's temperature. Along, we check with all the horses' temperatures. They check the people's, they check the people's temperature. And, once that's all cleared, we just go on and do our job. But we're very careful about, hanging out together. Really, on the backside, everybody's just doing their job, riding horses, bathing horses, grooming horses, training horses. And, the contact's not so much as probably other sports.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not like, for the most part, everybody's about 6 feet away anyway.
Yeah, I guess the length of a horse.
Yeah, exactly. They'll be walking around. If you see a horse walking around Shed Row and they're walking them around, nobody's walking side by side, folks, in case you haven't seen that.
Right.
So how many people are working at your barn right now, Dallas, roughly?
I guess 25 or so, give or take.
Yeah, and so all the barns are still open. Like we say, the horses have to be taken care of.
Correct.
Most of the workers, they go about their business. Is there great concern about this, which now seems to be tapering off a little bit, fortunately? The rates of infection and deaths are coming down throughout the country.
Yeah, we got a job to do and get in there and take care of the horses. The people are great about doing it. And, we have our own little world, actually. So it's a competitive world, and people love what they do. They love taking care of the horses. They love racing horses. And, the jockeys are taking care of business. They're doing a good job. And the whole management staff, wherever we're racing, is just doing terrific.
Do you feel that in Kentucky that I know Churchill Downs has delayed their meet? Keeneland was obviously canceled this time. Do you think that Kentucky racing will start getting back, if there'll be some hope for the summer of some kind of races coming up at Churchill, maybe, if not in May, maybe in June or something like that?
Yeah, Kenny, we kind of know what it's going to look like with no fans. And we get the horses over there and run them and take care of them. And, people enjoy watching them run. There's not much else going on. So I think people enjoy watching them run, make a wager on them, watch them at their house. And that's what we got right now. So, hopefully Kentucky will kick it off sometime in May. And, we'll bring a great product to the TV so people can watch, and we'll see where it goes from there.
How's your stable looking right now, Dallas?
We're coming together pretty good. We've got some young horses that are getting ready to start at Oaklawn, hopefully fill into Churchill later on. So it's been okay. The winter was pretty good. And, we're looking forward to getting some youngsters in and get rolling with them.
Hey, it's really going to be interesting, isn't it? We've talked about this for the last, month, about this whole Triple Crown, or it will even be the order of the Triple Crown. Will the Belmont lead off the Triple Crown this year if they get back to New York racing, in the near future? But it's just going to be a whole different world leading up to the Derby, isn't it? When you talk about how tough 3 or 4 weeks can be, now you're talking 4 months. How's that horse going to hold up that's doing really well right now?
Yeah, Kenny, it's just one day at a time for us right now, and just, trying to focus on, hopefully for the next meet. And as far as the Triple Crown and the Derby and all that, it's a long ways off. So, I mean, for me, I'm just one day at a time, taking care of my business and not looking too far ahead, and we'll see what happens.
I want to talk about two of the great long shots that almost came so close to the Derby, back-to-back years, trained by one Dallas Stewart, Golden Soul in 13 at 50-1, Commanding Curve in 14 at 37-1, and you come in second both times. I know that's there on that list of what to win with all the other races you've been able to win, but I mean that's really something to have those two long shots almost defy the odds both times.
Yeah, thank you, Kenny. So we had those horses when they were young, 2 years old. So we brought them through the ranks and raced them in the prep races. My crew did a great job keeping them healthy and keeping the weight on them. And we knew that they were good competitive horses, and you just try to get them to step up on that special day, which they did. They ran terrific. We ran into two great horses, California Chrome, who was a world beater, and Orb, who was a sensational horse. So two really good horses beat us, but I felt like we did a great job, preparing those two to get ready for Derby Day, and it almost worked.
Yeah, and it kind of shows, doesn't it, Dallas, that and you know this well, being with the Lucas Barn for all those years too, and coming in runner-up twice in the Derby, that it's about having the horse at that moment almost as anything else, isn't it?
Yeah, it's correct, but it's you kind of work through that all year. You kind of see some talent and, maybe a little better talent than the others, and you just kind of condition that and place them in the right places and keep them healthy, keep the weight on them, train them all the time, keep them happy. And, you got that gold star marked on that first Saturday in May, so you're trying through February and March and April to get to that May spot. So, it's just a thing where you got to pay attention, be on the job, enjoy what you do, and hopefully have a great horse to step up that day.
One of my favorite horses that you've trained is Lemons Forever. 06, still the longest shot, and probably will always be the longest shot to win the Kentucky Oaks.
I bought her as a yearling with Mr. Horton. We partnered up and bought her. I had a small piece of her, and first time we ran her, she got demolished leaving the gates. I think that was in November at Churchill. And we took her to, I think it was Turfway, where she broke a maiden. And then she went, that was the year of Katrina, so maybe the year after. But she went to Oaklawn and spent the winter there. And we brought her back, and she started in the Bourbonette prior to the Oaks. And she ran good. I think she was third on the poly track. And I just felt like there was a lot more in the tank. And Mark Guidry worked her 10 days or something before the Oaks. And he said, man, I think she'll win. I was like, come on, man. He says, I'm telling you, I never felt one that good as this one felt. So that gave us some confidence. Mark Guidry won 6,000 races.
Yeah.
And if you can't believe that, what can you believe, right? So,
exactly.
So he rode her, man. I tell you what, he was last all the way around there. I asked him, I said, well, what was you thinking when you was going down the backside? He said, I just gave her a little nudge, and she jumped up into the bridle, and he said, I really thought I was going to win. And he damn sure did.
Yeah, I remember that race very well. I think she was like almost 50-1, right in that ballpark, something like that, or
yeah, I think 47. I think
47-1. And I just remember I saw Guidry. It was like a movie. She just kept moving and kept moving and kept moving. I thought, gosh, she might actually win this thing.
Yeah, like my wife said, she passed every horse in the race because she was last. And she laid it all out there. I've got a picture of her like the next day after the Oaks. Looked like she lost about 200 pounds. And, she had just given it all she had that day. And she won some more races. It was just a great thrill. And then we sold her. Mr. 50 bought her. And then I started training for him, and I got to train a champion out of her. So pretty special.
Yeah, I know how special that was, and just really terrific with the all the roads that run back through Lemons Forever with you and her offspring. It's been really interesting to see, which I think is one of the great things about the sport, Dallas.
Well, it is a great thing, to have people stick with you and owners stick with you, and one thing is develop into the next, and you know, like you say, it's just a great story. She was a great, great filly. I was fortunate enough to buy her. You know, things always don't work out at the sale, but that was one of the things I guess was just supposed to happen for me. So I'm thankful that it did, and I was blessed that it blessed my family. And there you go.
Well, see, made it nice and easy. And that Forever Unbridled, one of the top fillies to come along in a while, and she was just terrific to watch. And that was the daughter that won another Breeders' Cup Distaff for you.
Correct. She was a full sister to Unbridled Forever, who was a Grade 1 winner, won the Ballerina, and then, you know, the next year she came along, and she was a big filly. Took some time to get her to the races. We didn't start her, I think, until the fall, and she was okay through the 3-year-old year, but she just got better with age. You know, she was big, and she had a chip taken out of her ankle after one Breeders' Cup. I think she was third to Beholder, but she ran really, really good. It was a small fragment. It wasn't nothing that was serious. And then Mr. 50 put her back in. She was already a Grade 1 winner at that time, but he said, let's go with her one more year. She only made 3 starts that year because she started in, I think, June, and she won the Fleur de Lis, and then she won the Personal Ensign at Saratoga, and then she won the Breeders' Cup. She was 3 for 3 on the year and won the championship. So that's a little unheard of, you know. I mean, that's pretty special.
We're talking with Dallas Stewart. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to talk more, and he has great stories about the Wayne Lucas days. We'll get a couple of those and more with Dallas. Stay with us. This is the Horse Racing Show. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Glad you're with us for episode 64. Glad to have Dallas Stewart back with us. We were with Dallas roughly around this time last year. We were at Churchill Downs on location. Remember, you gave us a kind of a tour, a walking tour, and it was great for you to say, you remember in that barn, that was over there was this horse, and that was this horse, and I was with Wayne Lucas as assistant with that horse. You're kind of the historian up there, one of them at Churchill Dallas.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great, great spot. Actually, where I was stabled right across from where we had Winning Colors. She was in stall 21 at the barn just across from us. So we had great memories just being in that area. So blessed to have good stables at Churchill. They've been great to me, and I hope we could get back rolling over there pretty soon.
I guess you were there also with Lady Secret. I think Thunder Gulch, Serena Song. I'm going to start I start trying to name the Lucas horses. You know, I'm going to miss about a dozen. Was there one or two that just really was kind of favorites for you for whatever reason there might be?
Well, I mean, I had a lot to do with Winning Colors. You know, I was like 27, 28 at the time, and started exercising her, and she won the Derby, you know, and I was around her all the way till she ran that great race with Personal Engine. She got beat a nose. My friend Randy Romero rode Personal Engine and beat us, and you know, it was just a great race. And, you know, that was a special horse, but Grindstone was special, and, you know, for Mr. Young. So we had a lot of great horses, Serena Song. I mean, it was just one after the other sometimes. And we won 6 Triple Crown races in a row. And Wayne did a terrific job. You know, he's a masterful horseman and just a person that can manage a lot of things. You know, when stuff gets on the top, it's, you know, it's a little hard sometimes. Not hard, but it's, you know, a little funny to manage, you know, when you got a lot of great horses and different spots to put them in to make the right calls. And Wayne did a great job, along with his son Jeff, and you know, also Todd was there and at that time. So it was a lot of good things happening, good horses, good people making good decisions, and it was fun.
That was quite a roster at one time passing through there. You mentioned Todd Pletcher. I think Mike Maker came through there. I'm now again. I'll start missing somebody, Dallas, when you start.
Yeah, I mean, you got George Weaver. You got George Weaver in there, laying in there, you know, and Mark Hennig, and you know, Karen McLaughlin, Randy Bradshaw, Rebecca Maker was there, who worked for me for years, and it's a hell of a pipeline. You know, I hate to leave anybody out, but there was guys that I mean, they were understudies that were just serious horse people that knew knew how to fix one, knew how to help one out, knew how to do what was right.
That was what made what. Well, it still does. I mean, he still has. I guess you see Lucas. He's still probably out there at 4 a.m. every day, isn't he, or close to it?
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, what has made him so good? Is there one or two things that you learned from him that you said this is what it takes?
Well, you got to have the drive. I mean, it just starts with the drive. If you ain't got the drive, you ain't going to carry on. You know, you might hit a good lick here and there. You might do this, you might do that, but you got to have the drive to get up and do it. And then you just perfect things as you go and learn as you go, and hopefully learn around good horses.
That sounds simple, but you know what? That's true in any sport, isn't it?
Correct. You better have that drive.
And you got to be able to get up and go out to the track at 4 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, you can't slack off on that. That ain't going to help you.
I remember one time he told me, challenged me basically. I was going to meet him at the track. We were doing a story on him, on Wayne, and I thought I was getting there early, and I still didn't beat him, you know.
Yeah, he's pretty consistent. There ain't no doubt about that, Kenny.
I told him I didn't realize there were 2 4 o'clocks in a day. I was used to that one in the afternoon, you know.
True.
Oh, what? So right now, I guess everybody's just waiting and hoping, and you'll be back in Arkansas soon. You bounce back and forth.
Yeah, a little bit. We got to be a little careful with the traveling. You know, we got the Arkansas Derby coming up, and you know, I got a good staff there. Everybody's taking care of business. As in New Orleans, we got horses in New Orleans also, so we'll get them all into Kentucky here pretty soon, hopefully, and then roll on.
Now, Churchill Downs right now is limiting, right? Who can come into the track?
Well, we have
already there.
The 28th is when it's supposed to open.
That's so on the 28th, it's going to open up, and you can bring your horses in from other places. Up until then, no. Is that the way
Correct.
it is?
Correct.
Aren't we all learning a whole different thing, aren't we?
Just the way life is right now. Just everybody stay healthy and do what you're supposed to do.
Hey, Dallas, it's always great to catch up with you.
Thanks, Kenny.
And we'll catch up again soon and talk more about how the racing business is going when everybody's up and running all over the place.
Thank you, brother. Take care of yourself, and I appreciate everything.
Always good to catch up with Dallas Stewart. Stay with us. There's more coming up on the Horse Racing Show. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Glad that you're with us. A longtime friend of mine. He's helped sponsor and support this show. The man who started West Point Thoroughbreds back in 1991 and has turned it into a powerhouse of a syndicate for those that are interested in getting involved in the sport of racing. He is the former Army Ranger captain, Terry Finley. Terry, welcome back in.
Always great to be with you, Kenny. Always great.
Now, in New York, everybody, it's been the hardest hit state. You and your family and friends, I hope, safe and well.
Yes. Yeah, it's a challenge for, all of us, but we're very blessed and we're thinking about those people, especially on the front lines. I know we hear a lot more talk about them. And I really give them a lot of credit because they get up and are out and engaged and, overall really doing on God's work in so many different ways. So I give them a lot of credit.
We were talking earlier with Dallas Stewart. He's at his barn right now in Louisville at Churchill Downs. And he was saying just at his barn in Louisville, Terry, he's got 25 workers. Of course, he also has probably at least that many in New Orleans and at least that many in Arkansas. And that's the way it is on the backstretch everywhere, even if the tracks aren't racing. Even if you're not in Florida or Arkansas, like in New York, people are there working every day because they have to take care of these horses.
Well, they are, Kenny. You see the horses and, you walk into the barn early in the morning and all those horses, they have their head out and they're waiting for breakfast. And I don't think a single one of them cares that our racing is stopped across the country. All they want to do is train and try to get better and eat and sleep well and be well taken care of. And I can assure you that every single person I know in the business is really intent on doing just that, taking great care of our horses.
And you're involved as well for many years. You're now, I believe, the chairman of the New York Racetrack Chaplaincy. They do tremendous work. Ramon Dominguez, retired jockey, is the president of it. And you guys are doing a lot of great things to help out the backside workers up in the New York tracks right now.
Well, I'll give you a little backstory on there on that. I've always loved the chaplaincy. Really, I'd like to think I'm a man of faith, and so last October I go to Belmont and I go back to the barn to see my horses, and I run over a nail from a blacksmith, and I have a flat tire. So I call my friend, Chaplain Nick Karras, who is really the second in command at the chaplaincy. And he comes over and he pumps up my tire with an electric device. And he says to me, "I can't believe it. Your name came up in our meeting today." I said, "For what?" So Nick says, "We'd love for you to be the chairman." So I was like, well, I think this is a message from God. I really did. I thought it was.
Yeah.
And so about a week later, it just hit me. I needed to get back in touch with Nick and Chaplain Umberto. And I did. And I will tell you, I said to somebody the other day, Kenny, it's really changed my life. It really has, to think about the ability to bring the resources that I have and the contacts and it's not about me, of course. It's about those people, the 1,000 people that come to work every day at Belmont Park, of which there are about 550 that actually live on the backstretch. So, that is really a blessing. And we've been able to overall really, really come together and grip hands and do the work that we needed to do to keep those 1,000 people safe and productive. And, so far it's been very solid. Tragically, we had a single death. We have about 35 people that are in quarantine on the backstretch at Belmont, but it could have been a lot worse. And I give credit to Naira and the horsemen in New York, and of course the chaplaincy. They all came together as one, and their ultimate goal was to service and to serve our backstretch and all the people that work on the backstretch. And I think they've done a great job. But I will tell you that effort and the initiative and the job is ongoing, and I don't see it backing up at all, at least for the next several months. So we got a lot of work to do, but I know we have the right people in place, and I am really proud to be a small part of it.
Talking with Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds, who is one of the most benevolent guys as well in the business, talking about working with the New York Racetrack Chaplaincy. And Terry, what you mentioned, the number of people that live on the backstretch. It's not like all these guys are just, commuting in from somewhere. They live over there. This is home for them. And it's that way, not just in New York, but several places across the country. As I was mentioning earlier, when we first started talking on this show, if you look on, sometimes you see the barn area. A lot of times you'll see like a little building or so behind it. Those are dorms, I would call them, apartment buildings, if you will, for the backside workers.
Well, yeah, I'll yes, and it is something, because the vast majority of them are doing exactly what they want to do in life. They want to take care of their horses and want to take care of their families. They want to send money back to their home countries. So in that respect, when you walk around the backstretch, especially after training hours, like say on a dark day and it's 3 or 4 o'clock and they're outside and they're smiling and they're laughing and they're grilling steaks for dinner, you see the joy and the contentment and the happiness and the love of the environment that they're in. And I'll offer to you, there aren't enough people in this world that exhibit the same traits, that love what they do and are passionate about something, and they get to do something that they're really into. And for that, I think you look at all those people across the country that care so well for our horses, and your heart goes out to them, because you know that they're in a good spot, but the need to help them is, at this point in particular, as big of a need as I've ever seen. But one thing that really gives us all hope is the fact that they smile and they laugh the majority of the day. And I don't see that. I don't see those smiles actually waning. In fact, I think they're bigger and they're brighter because they see people that are part of the industry. They see people all over the country that are stepping up and assisting in the effort to help the backstretch workers.
Let me ask you, Terry, too, about New York racing in general. As of now, it's on hold. People are working on the backside. As we talked about, horses are still getting their exercise, but there's no racing right now. Do you see anytime soon where, and I realize given the situation in New York, it's probably going to be different from just about anywhere else in the country as far as the reopening of everything. But do you think that we could actually have hope that by June there might be racing at Belmont?
I do, Kenny. I do. I think one of the things that is incumbent on people that are active in the situation and are in the positions of leadership is to balance the hope and the reality. And look, we are our currency in the racehorse business are hopes and dreams. We talked about that the other day. And really, so that's what they have to do. So that's a pretty significant challenge with the events that are unfolding in the world. But yes, I do. I think it starts with the backstretch workers. I think we'll be able to prove that we have taken this thing really seriously, and we took it really seriously at a time when a lot of other people weren't taking seriously. And I think when we show the numbers to the governor's office and we show the numbers to the health departments around the state of New York, they're going to see that we're for real and we're serious about doing the right things. And I think that's going to help us. But, we know that in the broad scheme of things, we're a little part of society, and we're really not super high up in the prioritization with the state of New York. But there are a lot of people, right, and their lives and their careers depend on racing getting back up and going. So yes, there is hope. It might not be as quick as a lot of owners and trainers and backstretch workers and the track want it to be, but we'll get back. We'll get back, and we'll be able to look back on this period of time. And I hope that we're all going to be able to glean the things that we can to help our business, to get smarter, and to really draw all the benefits that we can from these very difficult and trying times.
We're talking with Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds. We're going to take a quick break. Back with Terry. Talk about investing in horses. Is this a good time to do it now? That, and I want to talk a little bit about just that beautiful campus. It's up there by the Hudson called the United States Military Academy. Stay with us on the Horse Racing Show. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. I'm Kenny Rice. Thank you for being with us again this week. Episode number 64. That's how long this has been going on. He's been with us before. We're glad to have him back. He's been a good friend of this show. Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbred, the man that started it all back in 91 and just won millions of dollars and has been a part of a Kentucky Derby winner. And I think like 800 and almost 900 races, I think West Point's won. So Terry, with all the success you've had, given the climate with the virus and all, are people still really interested in getting into horses right now, into the horse business?
Yes, Kenny, I will say that. We're seeing that people are looking at ownership and the business overall, especially with NBC and TVG and Fox. Right, really with the only game in town over the weekend. So it's been very, very good with the exposure our business is getting. But we're seeing, and the feedback we're getting is, of course, people are cautious and they're thinking about the economy, right? But we see there's a disconnect between the economy and the situations that are presenting themselves in the stock market. So I'm sure that will get figured out, but I think people are looking at this as a way to get away from, thinking about the virus and the problems in society that have emanated from the virus, and all the things that are offshoots of it. So, when I think about partners, I just, they love the game, and all owners do. And you think about it's a very, very difficult investment if you look at it from a pure financial standpoint. But when you look at it as a lifestyle investment and what you get out of it, it's as good of an investment as I see anywhere, because look, what do we have? The only thing we have in life is the ability to make memories. And if there's any game in this world, any industry in this world that really affords every one of us that's involved a chance to make those memories, and not the ones you take on your cell phone, like they are memories. I'm talking about the memories that are stamped in your mind when you are standing in the winner's circle, or you're in a stretch duel, or you're out at Saratoga or Del Mar in the morning. Those are the kind of memories you don't catch on a camera, but you catch them in your mind, and you have those memories, and they're very vivid, right, for the rest of your life. And I think that's really the special part of the racing business that we'll continue to try to take advantage of, and to promote that. And this is, especially when you get a good one, it's as intense of an adrenaline rush as you'll get anywhere in the entire world. And that's pretty special. That's pretty special that we can offer that to anybody and everybody that is exposed and is in a position where they have interest in getting into the ownership game.
Talking with Terry Finley, West Point Thoroughbreds. He's the founder of that. He's an Army Ranger captain, retired. Of course, a West Point grad. And when you talk about special places, I want to take on a little trip right now along the Hudson. Terry, I had the chance to go up there with my dad, who taught cadets how to fuel in combat at Camp Buckner back in the Korean War. You know that. I told you that. And
yes, sir.
We went up there, several years ago, and stayed at the Thayer just inside the gate there at West Point. And it's just an amazing place, isn't it? It's one of my all-time favorite places to visit. I think it's a truly unique experience to be on the United States Military Academy grounds.
It is, Kenny. It is. And we're ready to get, we're ready in 2021. We'll go, my class will go back for year 35, our reunion. And interestingly, and very proud of my class, it's really been a special class. Actually, if you look at my classmates, one is Secretary of Defense. There's another one is Secretary of State. We have a bunch of CEOs that are of publicly traded companies, but it's pretty cool that you can send an email to the Secretary of State and you get a reply back the next day, and you're touching base with him. You're talking about his kids and his family and everything like that. Like, that's a special thing on the personal side. But on the public side, you know that there's a core group of leaders that are class of 86 that are in DC, and they're doing the good work, and they're doing it with integrity, and they're doing it with passion, right? And that parts of those traits were garnered during the 4 years that they had up at West Point. So I agree with you. It's a special place, and I can't wait to get back. I go back on a regular basis, and I would think that the next visit will be extra special for all the reasons that we can imagine.
Not everybody has Mike Pompeo on his speed dial, so that's impressive. I believe he was like number one in your class, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, and I was close. I was in all seriousness, I was in the top 92% of my class. But
I know
Mike was at the very top, and he's a special guy. He's a special guy, and I don't think I've talked to people on both sides of the political aisle, and although you might not agree with his outlook, right, that he has the right temperament and the right demeanor and the intellect and the background. I really do. I think he's going to be a legitimate prospect to run for president in 2024. And I will assure you, I'll do everything I can. And I would love to see Mike Pompeo in the Oval Office, because I think he would do a heck of a job. And I think it'd be kind of neat. It really would be.
You know, now I've got to get Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi on next week. You know that. So,
well,
I'm kidding. But
I know. It's a tough. You really don't do a whole lot when you start talking about politics, right? So I every once in a while I'll have a group of friends and I'll throw the match onto the Tinder, and then I'll get away from it. But there's no value. That's why I'll make the good pivot back to the racing business. That's why I love the business, right? Because I talked to Steve Asmussen. He's got a couple horses, but he's always got great sayings and great insight. He's a very intellectual guy.
Yeah. And
he says all the time, what I love about the horse racing business is the finish line. So it doesn't matter who your parents are. It doesn't matter what school you went to. If you own the fastest horse, you get to the finish line first. You get to stand in the winner's circle. And if you don't do that, you get to walk back to the barn and try to figure out the excuses as to why you didn't win. But that's the beautiful thing, is we have a definitive winner after every race, and we do it 9 times a day or 10 times a day all over the country. And I try to spread that word that's we don't have any real politics in our business. I'm talking about on the racetrack.
No, you don't.
We put them in the gate.
You win or you lose. That's right.
We put them in the gate, and the fastest horse gets the wire first, and that's as pure of an athletic endeavor as you can get, especially in today's world.
Terry, perfect analogy. I really appreciate having you on, and congratulations too on the great work over there with the chaplaincy program in New York racing, and continued success at West Point Thoroughbreds. And I hope we see each other soon in person at a racetrack.
Well, I can tell you, I can't wait to go to West Point, and I can't wait to see you. And you work so hard. And I will tell you, I appreciate the fact that even though you're very busy at the racetracks, every time we see each other, we get a shot to say, even if it's 2 or 3 words. And I can't wait to give you a hug and to exchange some words and to get a couple laughs the next time we're together at a racetrack, Kenny. Really look forward to it. And to you and your staff, keep up the great work.
Hey, thank you so much, Terry Finley, West Point Thoroughbreds. We'll be back to talk more here on the Horse Racing Show right after this. Welcome back to the Horse Racing Show. Thanks for your time again this week. Thanks especially to trainer Dallas Stewart and to Terry Finley of West Point Thoroughbreds. And as we get ready to close this out, probably people will be impressed when you hear the number, the hundreds of people that live, Thomas, actually live as well as work on the backside of Belmont Park, which is a gigantic track up in New York. In case people have not had a chance to be there, they've seen it on TV, just how big that place is.
Yeah, it's an absolutely massive racetrack. It's bigger than Saratoga Springs, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and you have a small town basically. In a lot of these tracks, you have small towns. 400, 500, 600 people could live back there, and that's one of the things to emphasize at this time. That's why a lot of people are working with chaplaincy programs. The Breeders' Cup has gotten involved in a few to help take care of these workers on the backstretch. So it's a good cause, and a lot of people are still having to go to work each day. Not everybody can work for their homes, especially when you have an 1,100-pound animal to take care of.
Yeah, that'd be a little difficult to do from home, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you just can't throw them a carrot. You can't just go by and throw them a carrot, You can't just say, good luck, keep up the good work. It's not like taking the dog for a walk. Well, thank you for being with us again this week. Ben Chaffins, thank you.
Thank you, Kenny.
Mr. Thomas Kenny, thank you.
My pleasure.
We hope everyone stays safe out there. This is episode 64 of the Horse Racing Show. We look forward to being back with you again next week. Until then, I'm Kenny Rice. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. So long.